I'm Armen Minasian.
And I'm Carnig Minasian.
And we're honored to be here, and actually we have a great time with the Urban Gateways and the program, the World Weavers Project that we work on. And we've been doing it for how long? 30, 40?
Almost 30 years,
Yeah.
On and off. But starting with art, resources, and teaching, and then, of course, into Urban Gateways. And
So we like it that we get to actually go and see the kids that are weaving or drawing the rugs. And part of the program, we have the assembly at the end of the year. What's your favorite part of the
my
program?
favorite part is when they come here for a field trip. Buses pull up at 30 at a time, sometimes more, and each group comes in and they get to see weaving, actual weaving. We show them that. We show them how we repair rugs. We open up a ton of rugs, and the kids get inspired by that. They get to see how the wash plant, how the rugs are washed. They learn all the aspects of what we're doing here.
When we open the rugs for them, they get an idea of what they're talking about when they're talking about the countries and where the rugs are made and about designs. And so tonight, we are taking some of our collection, some of the rugs that we think are our best rugs, our favorite rugs, and share them with you. And these are the things we share with the kids.
That's right. We're showing some of the rugs that we show the kids when they're here. We also have a lot of fun at the schools because we get a chance to show them their artwork and show the rugs when they're finished. We get a chance to show the kids that made the rugs what they did.
We welcome any of you that would like to come into our store and see these rugs in person. You're welcome. And we're going to have a nice event tonight. Why don't you explain how we've broken it down?
Well, we've done this before. The hidden treasures were rugs that we've had in storage, some of them for 50 as much as 80 years. And we've broken it down into categories to make it a little easier to see. We've got rugs from tribal groups and from early cottage industry pieces. We've got rugs from Kurdish weaving centers. We've got some rugs that are from the cities, workshops, and we have some decorative rugs that fill in all kinds of different categories for that. But that's kind of how we broke it down.
So we'll have some fun.
These are a mix of tribal rugs and early cottage industry carpets. So tribal rugs, the real definition of tribal rugs are trappings and functional things. These were things that were used by nomadic tribes. For example, this went on the side of a camel for a celebration. It's called an osmalik, it's 5-sided. And this kind of thing is what they would use for that decorative purpose. Other things like small flat weave carpets like this. This is a kilim. The rugs on the floor are kilims. Kilim means flat weave. These were functional rugs used for their own purposes. They had tent bands decorating their tents. They used them on the floor. They used them as cushions, storage bags, things like that. All of these things are what are real considered tribal carpets. Closely related to that are rugs that are made for sale, but they were a very, very homespun cottage industry rugs. And there are a number of rugs made in the Caucasus Mountains and in the northern part of Iran, in Turkey, that are that category. For example, here's a rug made in Azerbaijan, what is now Azerbaijan, and it is a perepidil. It's got these ram's horn designs, and it's a fabulous, very tightly woven, fine carpet made probably about late 1800s. Another carpet with a prayer motif. When you see an arch like this on a rug, it generally means it was used for prayers. This is a shirvan. Shirvan's another town in Azerbaijan. It's a small Caucasian carpet and extremely tightly woven, probably also late 1800s. Another example of a wonderful rug. The roots of this design are probably go back as far as the 16th century. Another Caucasian carpet. We say that the rugs are ranged anywhere from northern Iran into, well, what is now Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, that Caucasus area between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea.
What you're seeing here are some magnificent pieces. in fantastic condition.
These are all vegetal dyes. These are all pre-1880 for the most part, and most of these rugs have designs that were borrowed from early tribal rugs and some from some city some city Persian carpet. This is one of my favorite designs. It's called a cella bird, but it's also known in the industry as an eagle kazak because of the way these are shaped. They give it look like the feathers from an eagle. And these are very sought after rugs. Most of these things have been in storage for many, many years, and so
And they're heavy.
And they weigh. This is called an akstafa, and it's named after these birds that you see here, these peacock design type birds. And they're wonderful rugs. They're usually what are called long rugs. It's not quite a runner. It's a little wider from a runner. It's called a kele size. And these are, they fill these things up with all kinds of what are really amulets to ward off evil. Another little rug called the kazak, also a very simplified prayer design. When you see the arch like this in one direction, that indicates it's a prayer type rug. Another variation on a kazak. These rugs, it took almost 60 years to collect these carpets from various sources. They're very hard to find, and in this kind of condition, they're almost impossible today. One of my favorite rugs was part of the collection of rugs from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem had this rug in his house in Los Angeles. It is one of the rarest type of kazak carpets that you'll find today. It's called a Karachof kazak. This blue-green background color, the condition of this rug was made in either early 1800 or late 1700s. It's that old. And it's in amazing condition. Outside of a museum, you'd be very hard to find a rug like this. We're moving on to the south part of Iran. The southwest part of Iran have several nomadic tribes. And one of those tribes, the most well-known one, is called the Qashqai. And the Qashqai are known for making intricate designed carpets like this, mostly for ceremonial purposes when it's this finely knotted. All the blues are indigo, the reds are madder root, the yellow and light colors are from a flower top called weld. And the thing that's most outstanding about a rug like this is, as intricate as this is, these rugs are made by memory. The young women that are weaving these rugs do not have any guides, they don't have any graphs, they're not planning it out, they're making it from memory. So mother teaches daughter, and they learn motifs over the years, and they just start sitting down and weaving. One last rug from the Caucasus is this wonderful Shahsavan kilim. Again, the kilims are flat woven rugs that are usually not any wider than this, but the looms are set up on the ground and they can make these rugs as long as they need to. Often these are used inside of a tent. One of the more unique categories of rugs are rugs from Iran, but they're Kurdish carpets. So we can say Kurdistan, there really is no Kurdistan specifically, but it's a very large district in Iran where the Kurdish families weave rugs. Some of them are very tribal and some are very city influenced. But some of the characteristics of them is that they're very hard wearing. This is called a bijar, and a bijar is a village in that Kurdish area where they're known for what they call the rug of iron. These are the hardest wearing, most dense carpets made. And what's unique is that they literally, when they assemble these rugs, they pound them together and compress them. If I were to cut a little small hole here out of a rug, I'd have a mound of wool like this. If you'd like, I can do it. Do you have a knife with you? What it turns out to be is they're just very dense, so they wear like iron. And they are, there's not a rug dealer or collector in the world that doesn't have at least one of these rugs in their house. Another unique quality of some of these Kurdish carpets is that they use camel hair in a lot of them. This is camel hair, and it's undyed camel hair. And you would almost never see a rug this large using camel hair. Most of them are narrow, small runners, but here's a very unusual large one. There are some taboos about making rugs that depict animals or real-life figures, but the Kurdish people have a little bit more freedom when they're weaving. If you'll notice, they put a couple little girls in this rug, and if you look carefully, you'll see all kinds of figures that could be designs, but they're probably animal forms. So they like to hide a little whimsical figures in these rugs. That's it. Great. Now hold them up. These are both Kurdish carpets. This is another bijar. This one we just call Kurdish, but it has an influence of the typical Persian, very more fancy bote design or paisley pattern that you'll see. This one has a Herati design signified by this diamond and the leaf forms around it. Sometimes people call these fish because they almost look like they're fish, but they're really leaf forms. But the word fish in Iran is mahi, so they actually call these sometimes a mahi design. Wonderfully great pieces that are amazingly in perfect condition for their age. The Persian bijar that I mentioned before with the Herati pattern, the diamond with the 4 leaf forms around it and then flowers around that. That Herati pattern is taken to the nth degree on the rug underneath it. This is a senna, and a senna is from the same bijar district, but it's the height of the art. It's extremely finely knotted. It's got the same pattern on it. There's still a diamond with the leaf forms, repetitive pattern, but it's obviously a very, very intricate rug. A rug like this, in this size, probably took 8 to 10 years to make. What's interesting about this rug is look how many borders there are. Again, the main border is the navy border, but here they have a double main border, the red and the navy border together. Then they both have, each one of those has guard borders around them. It's an incredible feat to make a rug of this nature, this quality. You know, they're weaving it one knot at a time across. The amount of color changes that it takes just to get one row, they probably couldn't even do one row in a day. Probably took more than a day just to do one row of knots in this rug. This next category are workshop rugs, finely knotted rugs, sometimes called city carpets. These are all rugs that have been well planned out. These are not just shooting from the hip, weaving as you go memory. These are now rugs that have been graphed and drawn out. Usually there's a designer involved that gets the credit. A lot of these are made in the original workshops that were used by the early courts back in the 15th and 16th century. This is a Kerman. Kerman is a city and a district in Iran. And this has a little history to this rug. I showed this rug to Kareem. Actually, he bought this rug at one time. And I mentioned to him at that time the rug was about 100 years old. And Kareem said, no, it's not. It's 85 years old. And he read the inscription on the rug and read who made the rug. And I realized Kareem knows a lot more than I do about rugs at that time. He was quite knowledgeable. He had studied.
Now the rug's well over 100.
Yeah, now the rug is over 100 years old. It's a Kerman. It's all vegetal dyes. They use fantastic dye stuffs to make a rug like this. Very rare to find a deep navy, rich indigo navy blue Kerman like this, in this condition. This is a very rare silk vase carpet made in the city of Kashan in Iran. It's over 100 years old. It's in immaculate condition. That's what this design is. The vase itself is missing, but that's how these were made, as if there was a vase holding all these tree of life designs. This is a rug that probably should end up in a museum. There's so few pieces like this in this kind of condition. Another variation of a city carpet called a kashan. This one is all wool, but a very fine wool. It almost looks like silk. This is a particular designer made this rug called De Beer, D-A-B-I-R, not De Beer like the diamond company De Beer. And De Beer was a very famous designer in the 1920s in Iran. His rugs had unique borders. I love this one because it has dancing hens all around the corner. I've never seen a rug that had anything like that. You know, these elaborate chickens, basically. It has several layers of pattern here, and they're known for doing that as well. All of De Beer's rugs had unique borders, unique guard borders, a lot of intricacy, and several layers of pattern. So you'll see the larger design, like the ivory outline, and then you'll see this fill in the back, and it gives you almost a dimension to it. So it's a unique carpet for a number of reasons. Also about 1920s. This is a Tabriz, a Persian rug from northwest Iran. Tabrizes have a reputation for being the highest artistic rugs. This one's patterned after a domed ceiling. So what you're looking at on the floor is this if you were looking at it on the ceiling, the dome of a big mosque. And it's got not only fine wool, but also silk inlaid into it. So lots of the details are outlined in silk. And it's quite a masterpiece. And this is relatively new. This probably is mid-20th century. This is a Persian Saruk. Saruk, again, is a small village in the west part of Iran, known for very tightly woven, very creative rugs. Most of them were from the mid to late 1800s. Modern-day Saruks, after World War I, changed drastically to a completely different type of rug. But this is prior to that, and this is more or less the height of their artistic ability. And these rugs have wonderful colors, and they're as sought after today as they were back then. It's rare to see one in this condition. I don't think it would be fair not to show you a new rug patterned after some of the finer, older rugs. This is a new Persian rug design, but made in Pakistan. Amazingly tightly woven, incredible detail. A rug like this takes about 3 years to make in the 9x12 size. They only make a handful of these ever. They're just too difficult to produce. And they're overseen by a closest friend of ours who goes over every single color that's designed and put in this rug. Most Pakistan rugs like this have 6 to 9 colors. Some have as many as 12. This has probably 30 to 40 different shades in it. So it's a brilliant piece. Our last category, I'm lumping several different things together. What I call these are decorative carpets. Now, decorative carpets means a lot of different things, but to a rug person, decorative carpet means it's a large piece that is from either Europe. In this case, this is French. This is a French aubusson. We've got some rugs that we're going to show you from India, from Turkey, and they're all beautifully done, but they were made for a market, and most of them are pretty early pieces. This is probably a 200-year-old piece from Aubusson. So Aubusson's a town in France, known for making this tapestry weave like this. A lot of these rugs were used in Versailles and other buildings in Paris, in France.
This could very easily be Marie Antoinette's personal rug, because she had many, many.
She did have many rugs, and this is the kind of rug, this kind of shape, the size. These were things that were found in various homes in the Marais district, and some of them were...
I think she was a customer of ours.
She could have been. She could have been. This is a wonderful Agra, and Agra is from India, the same city as the Taj Mahal. But the design is distinctly Turkoman. The Turkoman weavers would make something of this style, but this is clearly an Agra rug. And it's very rare, 16 feet wide and 18 feet long, and it's probably mid-1800s. This is another Agra, another carpet from India, with more Indian motifs. I mean, you've got animals in here, you've got cypress trees, antelopes, all kinds of floral patterns, and it's in a directional piece. It's a 12-foot square, which is unusual. It's got an amazingly intricate border of cypress trees and florets and palmettes. The color palette makes this unusual too. This is a rug from again, sometime in the late 18th century, the late 19th century. Another decorative rug, this one from Turkey, called an Uşak. Uşak is a small village in Turkey, in Anatolia. Rug was made in the late 1800s, early 1900s, right around the turn of the century. A lot of these designs were influenced by the arts and crafts movement that was taking place in England and in Ireland. These rugs are known for having unorthodox colors. They have lots of space, lots of negative space. Designers just adore these rugs because they work in unusual settings. They work great because of their unusual palette of colors and simplistic designs. This one's particularly interesting, a color you wouldn't expect to see, a combination of colors that you wouldn't expect to see.
And the size is great.
Size is very good, like 13 by 20. This is another camel hair carpet called a bakshayish. This comes from the far northwest part of Iran. And I put this under decorative rugs. It has a village influence. It is a rug that would probably be designed as it's being made and has mostly natural dyes, undyed wool, or undyed, in this case, camel hair. These are very sought after rugs for a number of reasons. They have a wonderful sense of color and design. They're simple. They have the geometry that's, instead of having a real floral city palette, and they work well in all kinds of different settings.
They try to make new rugs with this design, and they just can't get it. And that's because the wool, it takes 100 years for the wool just to cure to the point that it has this sheen to it.
Yeah, they've been trying to copy this for years.
They have washes, they have all kinds of things.
Exactly.
None of it works.
This incredible piece, which is about 21.5 feet wide by about 27 feet long, was made in Lavar, a town north of Kerman in Iran, southeast part of Iran. Known for their decorative pieces, known for their incredible workmanship. A rug like this takes 15, maybe 20 years to make. And the signature usually gives the attribution to the designer that produced the rug.
So I'm sure this was made on order for someone, a palace.
No question about it.
And it took 15 years to make, probably 10 people working on it. So we've seen some great rugs tonight, and of course our favorites. And this is one of my all-time favorites. Carnig, why don't you tell them what this is about?
This is a special rug for a number of reasons. First of all, it does have a provenance. The first time we saw this rug, had been in storage for about 75 years. And it was previously owned by a man named Saruk Nahigian, who bought it from Marshall Field. Not the store, he bought it from the Marshall Field first. This was in a summer home in Indiana. And it's 18 feet wide, 21 feet long. It's a very, very rare piece from Lavar, Kerman. Kerman is a city in Iran. And it's an area where they were known for making shawls. So the old Persian cashmere shawls were the original designs that became the blueprints for this type of rug. That's why it has such an elaborate design on it. What makes this unique is it's in incredibly good condition. It was made in the late 1800s. It's one of the best pieces I've ever seen of its type. If you look closely, you'll see the amount of borders, the amount of workmanship in this rug is second to none.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for us to share some of our rugs with you, and we welcome you at any time to come and look in our store and see them, and thank you for supporting Urban Gateways.
And thank the staff at Urban Gateways for all the support they've given us and made this a very fun project for us too.